Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Exponential Potential. And throughout this month, we've been examining the concept of change and new beginnings and transition. And today we'll be diving into that in much more detail with the glorious ZenJen Evans, my wonderful co-host and real expert in this space. So, hey Jen, how are you doing?
I'm good, Claire, thank you. The sun is shining. Spring has sprung here in Italy. Leaves are coming out on the trees. Really glorious day. So how's it in England? If it's not sunny, I'm sending him some sunshine.
Well, it's occasional sun.
Mhm.
Still got a fair bit of rain, but actually spring is, this blossom on the trees, the leaves are starting to, trumpet through. There's a real shift. There's a real shift in energy for sure. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I definitely feel that. And when I was over in the UK with you, um, just the blossoms on the trees, I love that time of year. And I'm wearing a very pink blossomy shirt today
It's
because it's
celebrating.
spring. Yes, exactly, exactly.
Dear. So, do you think that is why this is a good time for creating change and transition or, yeah.
Absolutely. I think actually Lucy Eden mentioned it as well on our podcast when we were live at the Corporate Wellbeing Expo. And I'm very much, and I know you are as well, very much a believer in following the Earth's natural rhythms and our natural rhythms. And a time, springtime, which is now in the Northern Hemisphere, is that time of exponential growth. Everything's coming alive. We're waking up from that sleepy hibernation time in the winter, and you feel the energy that we see more sun, we've got more daylight. So it is definitely such a great time to start to look at where you want to make changes in your life and use that natural rhythm and that energy of nature and the universe of moving that energy and moving forward and creating new growth for yourself on a personal and business level. So yes, definitely a brilliant time to do that. Although it's not to say that we can't make a new beginning every day. It's just a great time to do it because of you're using that energy. You've got an extra oomph to push you forward gently.
Yeah. And it's a great time for noticing as well, isn't it? And that's one of the things that I love is, when you look to nature, the trees were barren and cold and stark, and then all of a sudden there are the little bits of brightness coming through. The blossom just seems to explode, and it's almost like this, wake up, look at what's around, look at kind of what's there and notice. And that's such a key part of change, I'd say.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of the things of what it takes to change and to transition, is awareness and noticing, noticing where you are now and what's really happening for you, what's happening in your life, what's happening in the workplace, what's happening in your relationships, and where do you want it? Where do you want to be? Are you feeling fulfilled and happy and filled with the joys of spring? Or are you feeling like you're dragging yourself out of bed every morning, dreading the day or dreading another argument with your partner? They're sort of the two areas I think of transition and change are the hardest, when it comes to when you're in your own, when you've got a tough relationship or you're not enjoying your job.
And also, I mean, we're talking about being at the start of a change journey in that, but it's also one of the common traits that I see is where we're so busy climbing up the mountain and then looking and going, oh, I need to be there, that we don't stop to look back to see how high we've come or the changes that we've already put in place. It's almost like, yes, you may want it to be a switch on and off, but it's a much more gradual process than that. And to acknowledge and see the momentum building.
Yeah, and I think having some grace and compassion for yourself is really important on the journey. And like you say, celebrating how far you've come and taking your focus off the judgment of I shouldn't be here today. This is where I didn't want to be here today. I remember in my 40s, my mid 40s, I'd not long been back to the UK, and I was, starting yet again. I mean, I had a great apartment and there was lots of things that were working out for me. And I just had one of those days where I just needed to bawl my eyes out and let it all go. The expectation that, the pressure and the expectation we put on ourselves of, well, I should be here and I should be doing this and I should be earning this amount of money and I should be with a loving partner and having a life of ease and flow. And this isn't where I wanted to be. But it's allowing yourself and having grace and compassion for yourself of the journey that you've had and all those incredible experiences. And as we perceive good or bad, to really appreciate our journey and what we've been through and what we have accomplished on that journey.
So we've labelled this episode, quite intentionally. That's not a surprise. We do that each time. But we've consciously talked about creating ease through transition. What does it take to transition with ease?
I mean, transition and change can be really, really difficult and challenging, and without a doubt it is. I'm not taking that away. I've been through plenty of changes in my life, as we all have, and I've learned some of the tools and what it takes to create more ease, because it doesn't have to be as hard as we make it. It can be a lot easier. So I think the grace and the compassion is huge, taking away that judgment and taking away blame on anybody else and yourself, having courage, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and looking at the positive in terms of where can these next steps lead me? What are the possibilities? So instead of looking backwards, looking forwards and looking at the future as an adventure. And your favorite, Claire, coming from that place of curiosity, being curious on the adventure, coming from a place of wonderment and excitement. So allowing excitement to take over the fear element, because fear and excitement are very, very close in terms of that they both release adrenaline. So they're very close in terms of emotion. So it's leaning into that excitement. And then it takes belief in yourself and what's possible. It takes resilience. And it also takes, and this is hard to hear for a lot of us, especially women, putting our needs on our deep, heartfelt needs above what other people think, what upsetting others. It's about putting you first, which is, that's hard to hear. But sometimes when we do that, and it's not from a selfish point of view, it's from a selfless point of view. When we do that, if we're not there fully with ourselves and in ourselves, we're having a negative impact on those around us anyway. Whether that's in a job or in a relationship. If we're not fully in it, then they are missing out on somebody that can be fully in it, that can be fully committed, that can give them everything they need. So you're it's a different way of looking at it. You're sort of stopping them from having, whether if it's in a relationship, you're stopping them from meeting somebody that is a better match than you, that can give them more than you can.
And sometimes that better match is you as that person.
Yes. Yeah. It might not be a change in a relationship. It might be that it's a change within yourself.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of clients that come to me that are fearful that if I change, will that impact my relationship?
Yeah.
And yes, it does, but it usually impacts on a positive level.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And then the other thing is, you need to give yourself space. You can't be in your head crazy busy when you're going through this kind of transition. And when you are transitioning, it usually is a very, very busy time. So it's key, it's crucial to give yourself that downtime and that space. And maybe that involves a retreat somewhere. Maybe that involves a solo retreat with somebody like myself that can completely help you reset and help you gain the clarity and look at what's missing and what's in your way and transform that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And I mean, do you think it is the fear of letting go of something, or the fear of losing something, that holds people back? What do you experience? What do you see that holds people back from taking that step?
One is fear of mistake, making
Yeah.
a mistake or failing. And for me, there isn't any, when I look at a mistake, I look at that as it's an opportunity to learn and to evolve and to grow. And in terms of failure, for me, I mean, that failure has such negative connotations, but for me, it's a stepping stone towards success, whether that, success in your personal life, success in your professional life. So fear in those elements, you can, by changing your perspective about what you're fearing, making a mistake or failing, when you change your perspective, then that's no longer a barrier, it's no longer a block. And I think the other thing is disappointing others, letting other people down, whether that's our parents, our partners, and it's making somebody else's opinion or judgment more important than your own personal well-being and your own personal happiness and success. And then that, then you don't feel fulfilled, and you're not actually any good to anyone when you're unhappy. So I think they're the things that I come across mainly: making a mistake, fear of failure, worrying about other people's judgments, or letting somebody else down. And actually the other big one is not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy or deserving. That's quite common, and that's very hidden, usually, that one.
What strikes me about your answer there is a misconception, a mistake, that staying the same is a safe and comfortable place to be. Very often people don't stretch themselves because they don't, they feel safe and cozy here, but all of the time things are changing. It's just like,
and also feeling safe. I mean, when it's when it's time to change, if you're tuned into your body and tuned in, aware. Again, it's that awareness, because your body will let you know. You'll have anxiety, because anxiety, there's many forms of anxiety, and one of the forms of anxiety is that our body is letting us know that we're out of alignment, whether we're out of alignment with our thoughts, whether we're out of alignment with the life that we're leading. In a job that we hate, I've had clients come to me where they're physically sick in the morning because they just detest being at work. And I've had clients that wake up with that anxiety because they're not happy in their relationship. So it's our body, when we stay in our comfort zone, it becomes very uncomfortable. And we have this, there's also, I mean, anxiety or depression is quite it's layered on top, and it becomes anxiety and depression. But before that, there's also the feeling and a sense of feeling unsettled, feeling ungrounded, feeling like there's more, and feeling unfulfilled.
yeah, those are really early markers of regret, aren't they?
Yeah. And guilt is a big one. of not stepping forward, the guilt that we have put on us as we grow up. But yes, your body will let you know when it's time for change. And it's that, again, the earlier that you do it, the easier it is in terms of your own personal well-being, because you're then not at the level of anxiety or depression, anger, resentment, all those other things that pull forward and create stress and angst in your life. So as difficult as it may be to make a decision, if you stay in your comfort zone, it just becomes more and more uncomfortable, and it doesn't have to.
Is it different when change is forced upon you? And maybe a change in a relationship, or children leaving home, or health issues, or redundancy. Kind of those aren't changes that you create necessarily.
Yes, because there's a real sense of losing control and feeling helpless, and we all love to feel like we're in control, but we're not. The only thing that we're ever in control of is how we feel and how we react and our own behaviors. And again, not everybody believes that, but we create the thoughts. Our mind isn't, somebody hasn't taken control of our mind. We create those thoughts, which create our feeling, which create our emotions, which create our behaviors and create patterns. So if you've created that thought, you can create a different thought. You can shift your body from a cellular level, a cellular point of view, to change and transform permanently around your belief systems, for example. But when we're forced into a situation, and I have been as well, and I know you have, Claire, I've been forced into redundancy, relationships where, somebody's left me and I've been heartbroken. So it is different. One, we don't feel that we're in control. And two, there's a journey of grief in there as well. And when we make our choices, there's also can be grief, but this grief is more pronounced.
Yeah.
And we find it hard to accept it because we haven't made that choice, and it hits our confidence, hugely hits our confidence. And that could be through health, that feeling of, as you've experienced burnout, there's that feeling of, well, I'm not good enough because I've burnt out, or I'm not good enough because my partner's left me for somebody else. And we go down that rabbit hole, and we focus on, we are the problem.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. Again, it goes back to, why would you want to be in a job that completely burns you out because of so much pressure? And
and what is real success?
Yes,
is a job that does that, or is success choosing something that makes you happier and fulfilled and live a better life?
Yeah. And in terms of relationships, why would you want to stay with someone that lies or cheats, or just decides that you're not the right, that you've come to a natural end where then you're no longer happy with each other, and it's gone beyond that point of no return? I mean, there are a lot of people that I work with in terms of relationships and help them create a much better, fulfilling, connected, loving relationship. But there are times where it's gone past, or you're not with the right person.
Did you want it anyway?
Sorry?
Did you want it anyway?
Well, yeah, exactly. Why would you want to be with somebody that can't give you what you need, or you can't be fully yourself? And I think a lot of that comes through experience, experience, and age. But one of the things that helped me through those things is having grace and compassion for myself, but also having that realization, well, it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Even though you don't see it at the time, how often has something happened to you where you had no control over it, a change, a transition, you've been forced into you've been forced into a situation where it felt, oh my God, this is the end of the world. when actually a couple of months later or more, something so much better comes into your life. And it's a good opportunity to look at, what did you learn from that experience? What did you like, while you were in the experience? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Because I can bet if you were made redundant, you weren't fully happy in that role. Or maybe you were, but then that's giving you okay, well, these are all the things that I really loved about that job. Where else can I find that? It's realizing that there's so many more options and possibilities available to you.
Yeah. But the longer you stay stuck, the longer you don't see them.
Yes, because you're in that blame, and you're blaming yourself, you're blaming other people. You're refusing to accept it. So the quicker, and I'm not saying that you allow yourself to feel that sadness, that anger, whatever it might be. Don't squash it down. Allow it to come up in as healthy a way as possible. And then surround yourself with people that love you, that are your cheerleaders, that help boost your confidence. Stay away from negativity. Get yourself out in nature. Do things you enjoy. Raising your vibration back up where you feel lighter, changing your belief systems around that you're not good enough, and allowing for new opportunities and possibilities to just literally come knocking at your door, and follow those little stepping stones.
Yeah. So what kinds of experiences have you had in terms of challenging changes, and what helped you through?
I think the two things were, redundancy really knocked me for six. I've always been very good at my jobs. I've always reached targets and goals. I've always been well liked in a job role. And I was made redundant, and I was like, what? And it came out of the blue. I had no idea. And it hurt. My confidence was just, it really hit me. But I took a step back and I created space for myself. And I realized, well, actually, I really didn't like that job anyway. Because I wasn't giving it my all, and they were right to make me redundant. I took ownership of that, and I took responsibility. I wasn't doing my job to the fullest. The commute was an hour and a half each way. The support I got was zero.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the right tools to be able to do the job that I was employed to do. But at the same time, I didn't step up and ask for support and assistance. So it's about, I took responsibility, and then I thought, well, I didn't, that wasn't the perfect job for me. So what is? Yeah. So that helped. And being, again, with the relationship thing, the biggest thing I think that helped me realize with relationships, in the past, I always thought that they're the one. That's the one person for me. So when I met somebody and the chemistry is flying, and you get all the flutters in the butterflies in the stomach, and there's all that very high energy and attraction, sort of almost not love at first sight, but attraction at first sight. The electricity and the connection. So I was always thinking, and my best friend will attest to this, saying, I always, oh my God, this is the one, this is the one. So because then it all fell apart, I was so heartbroken because I thought that they were the one. Once I realized, well, clearly they're not the one for a start, otherwise it wouldn't have fallen apart. And two, there is more than one. There may have been one with past lives, or a soulmate, but soulmates aren't necessarily to be in your life as a partner for your life, because we all get attached to that soulmate thing. Soulmate can be friends, can be family, can be somebody that you meet in the street that helps you change a direction, can be a partner, but they're here for you to help you grow. And it may be not that they're for you at this time in this lifetime. So once I got my head around, well, there is, yes, there's soulmates, but they don't have to be in your life forever. And they're clearly not right for me right now. And there are others out there. And it truly is. There are plenty of fish in the sea. We're not meant, there isn't just one person. That would be ridiculous.
No. And similarly, there's not one job. It's not even one career. There's not even one business. It flows. You're in this state of experimentation and learning and growing and trying something different, and then learning and growing, and evolution really throughout your human experience.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. It's when we become so attached to something, when we become so attached to an outcome, that creates a lot of issues and problems and angst and stress. Whereas if we just give ourselves space and give the universe space in terms of showing you different ideas and solutions and different paths, because we have thousands of paths available to us, so many possibilities. But it's when we're attached to that one outcome. So being open to possibility is huge.
Yeah. And kind of for many people, they'll be like, oh, you don't know, it's really painful. This is where we are now. But I think what you're saying is you've lived that, you know that, and yet you can come through that. And it can be something quite magical and creative rather than a destroyer of worlds, as it were.
Yes. Yeah. And it is painful. I mean, absolutely. But it's also when we take away judgment, because it's that eases things, it lightens the load, it makes things easier. When we judge ourselves, it just puts a whole level of heaviness and hurt and more pain. So making choices, when we make a choice to sort of go, okay, well, I don't need to judge myself here. And the judgment comes from lack of self-worth and self-belief and lack of self-love. So it's sort of going underneath. To release that judgment is going underneath to the root causes and those sneaky hidden beliefs that we don't always know are there, and transforming those.
And it's a place where many, 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 many people get stuck.
Yeah. And we go round and round and round in circles.
So
we don't have to.
How do you help clients through that transition then, and making those decisions?
Well, I think first of all, we spoke about it before, which is through awareness. So I really help clients see through the weeds, see what's really important for them, uncover the blind spots and those negative beliefs and patterns that get us in our way and keep us stuck, and dissolve those beliefs, those belief systems and the lack of self-worth, to help them really fly forward towards what's possible for them. And most of the time they don't realize what's possible for them. And I use gently powerful guidance, helping clients feel empowered, because I think it's important for clients to make their own decisions and their own choices, taking back their personal power, and create a more positive perspective on life, and so that they see things differently. Because when you change your perspective, you truly can transform your life. And I also look at using, I use analytical tools, I use very practical tools, but I also use science-based, neuroscientific tools, which sounds really heavy, but actually they're really fun. And I work with our inner guidance. So our body, we talk about this a lot, our body tells us everything. And I help very gently but powerfully release those blockages in our body through movement, activations, visualization, and just sitting with something and feeling it in your body where it is and allowing it to be released very gently. And there will, there is tears. It's a courageous, brave journey. But there's so much support and love. It's like I like to think that I surround clients in a cocoon of love and support and encouragement, so that they can gain that clarity they need, believe what's possible and believe in themselves, feel confident and worthy, and fill their cup with self-love. And then the courage that it takes to step forward into a new way of being.
There's I mean, there are so many different levels that you're describing there, in terms of the depth of the spiritual experience that releases the trauma and creates a healing space where you feel that you can take on that next step.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see how that works well.
And opening you up to receive the gifts that are right in front of us that we don't always see.
Oh, indeed.
And getting you into alignment so that you're in alignment. You're not feeling heavy and down here. You need to bring yourself up to where all the goodies are to allow that to come into your life.
Yeah, when we look out at the trees, we started talking about when the blossom comes, and of course we see when the blossom isn't there, and then we see that when the blossom is there. But we don't necessarily see the amount of energy and change that it takes for the tree. And I think what you're describing there is creating you mentioned cocoon, but creating a loving space that holds somebody through that.
Yes. Yeah.
Some...
It's a beautiful, expansive journey that allows clients to have a deep sense of inner harmony and peace and freedom so that they can truly flourish and live a fulfilled life.
Yeah. So how can people explore that in a bit more detail with you?
I think one, continue listening to the podcasts, but if this really resonates with you and you've been stuck for a while, or you're ready, like I have had enough of this, I need to change, I need my job to change, I need to change, whatever it might be, but there's this sense of I'm ready, show me. Reach out to me and book a discovery call where we'll go into detail of where you are now, what you truly want, bridging the gap between those two, where you are and where you need to be, looking at what's holding you back, those sneaky hidden blind spots and belief systems. You'll experience some transformation on the call without a doubt. And then explore the next steps in terms of whether you want to work with me, whether we're a good fit, or I may make suggestions on how you can move forward in another way.
See how that goes. Yeah, and we'll have some details within the show notes on how people can access that, and that initial conversation is really powerful, not only in terms of some of those early suggestions just to start the momentum flowing, but also understanding whether you're a good fit.
100%. Because that's important.
You can only really achieve transformation when you feel safe.
Yes.
When you feel heard. And I can see it. I mean, I've had the pleasure of many hours of time with you, but kind of that first space is really key, and I can see how you create that environment for people.
Thank you.
Cool. So if that does resonate with you, if there are elements of this change journey that you feel you want to explore in a little bit more detail, if you're experiencing that niggle, and you're not sure what it is, or if you're being jolted from the side, you know, kind of the language of being knocked sideways or having your legs taken from under you, kind of those, the pieces of the language that we use are heavily in the body, but we kind of ignore the feelings in our body. So if you are experiencing any of those, and that could well be the signal that something's got to change. So whether it's with Jen directly, or again through any of our series this month on change, dive on in, learn and try. But for now, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.